What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to get into my Atlantic 10 conference tournament predictions. But before we dive into this bracket, just want to let you guys know if you want to check out my Big 10 and my American Conference tournament predictions videos that I just barely made today, as well as all my other conference tournament predictions videos that I made throughout the week. And then also stay tuned for I'm going to be making the Big West Conference tournament predictions video. The MAAC conference tournament predictions video, and some others tomorrow as we wrap up conference tournament season. I made all of them up to this point. So yeah, if you want to check out those. But anyway, let's look at this bracket here. Starting out with the number 1 seed, we have the Rams of VCU, who finished. Let me pull it up real quick. There you go. VCU finished 15-3 in conference play. They've won 6 straight. If you've watched any of my bracketologies videos, you know I've been a big fan of VCU for a while now. But then we have a 3-way tiebreaker between 2 through 4 with number 2 seed Dayton, number 3 seed Fordham, and number 4 seed St. Louis, all finishing 12-6 in conference play. And then number 5 seed, we got George Mason, who finished 11-7 in conference play. Then we have a 2-way tiebreaker between number 6 seed Duquesne and number 7 seed Washington, who finished 10-8 in conference play. And then we got the final teams of the first round byes. We have number 8 seed Davidson and number 9 seed St. Bonaventure's, both finished 8-10 in conference play. And then missing out on a bye, we had 10-seeded St. Joseph's also finishing 8-10 in conference play. Tough for St. Joseph. They're going to have to play in the first round here. And then number 11 seed La Salle finishing 7-11 in conference play, tying up with number 12 seed Richmond, who finished 7-11 in conference play. If you did not know, Richmond went on that big run in this tournament, in the A10 tournament last year, to win this. And then they beat Iowa, a big team. A lot of, including myself, I had Iowa in the Final Four last year, and Richmond beat them. So that was a crazy win. But yeah, Richmond, good year for them last year. Obviously, haven't really been able to repeat it this year, but still finishing 7-11 in conference play. And then number 13, we had Massachusetts, who finished 6-12 in conference play. Number 14, we had Rhode Island finishing 5-13 in conference play. And then number 15, the Fighting Sister Jeans, finishing 4-14 in conference play. Tough year for Loyola Chicago. All right, but let's get into the predictions here now. Let's start out with the first matchup between Richmond and UMass. And I'm going to go with Richmond here. I know Richmond's lost 3 straight games, but I do think that they're the better team over UMass, and I'm going to go with them to win. And then down here, we got St. Joseph's versus Loyola Chicago. St. Joseph's right now, obviously, like I mentioned, they are probably was hoping that they were able to get that bye, but we're not able to. So, yeah, this will not let me advance them, so I'm just going to have to type them in. I think that St. Joseph's will be able to beat Loyola Chicago in that game. And then La Salle versus Rhode Island. La Salle's lost 5 straight games. Rhode Island has found themselves at 9-13. So why not? Let's go with actually an upset picker. I'm going to go with the 5-13 in conference play. Rhode Island beating La Salle. La Salle has just been struggling lately. They've lost 5 straight, as I mentioned. Not a way to go down here. So I'm going to give Rhode Island the advance to the second round. All right, moving on here. We got Davidson versus St. Bonaventure's, a really good matchup. Obviously, people know Davidson with Steph Curry's old college, and St. Bonaventure's has also been a good program. So these are 2 storied programs in the Atlantic 10 Conference. 2 good teams this season. But I'm going to go with St. Bonaventure's to pull off the 9-8 upset over Davidson. That game could go either way, though. And then we got George Mason versus Richmond, a 5 versus a 12 seed. I'm going to go with George Mason. I don't see Richmond pulling off that upset. George Mason is tied for the second hottest team in conference, so have won 6 straight games as well as VCU. All right, and then down here we have George Washington versus St. Joseph's. a battle between a 7 seed and a 10 seed. Let's see here. I'm going to go with an upset pick here. I'm going to go with St. Joseph's beating Loyola Chicago, then advancing on as a 10 seed to beat George Washington. I just believe in St. Joseph's this season. I think that they can beat George Washington. And then Duquesne versus Rhode Island, a 6 versus a 14 seed matchup here. I don't see Rhode Island pulling off a big upset. I'm going with Duquesne. All right, so for a spot in the semifinals, VCU versus St. Bonaventure's. As I mentioned, I'm a big fan of VCU. I'm giving them to advance on. And then we got St. Louis versus George Mason. George Mason, as I mentioned, is in the midst of a 16-game winning streak. But I don't think it's going to be enough. Last time these two played, it was a 1-point game. So I think this will be a close game. But I am going to go St. Louis. I just like them a little bit more than I do George Mason. So that is that. Let's go down here. Dayton versus the 10-seeded St. Joseph's. Could the run of St. Joseph's continue? Dayton start out the year pretty well, but they've been struggling as of late. Let's just continue this wild story of St. Joseph's beating Dayton as a 10 seed to advance on to the semifinals. So why the heck not have some fun with this tournament? I'm going to go with St. Joseph's to advance, where they will play a matchup between Fordham and Duquesne. Really good matchup between these two. Fordham has had a really good year for them, but I think they'll be able to handle their business against Duquesne. All right, so for a spot in the championship game, VCU versus St. Louis. I'm going to go with VCU in that matchup, although I could see an upset pick there. I'm going to go with the Rams, though. And then we got St. Joseph's, the 10 seed, against a 3-seeded Fordham. And unfortunately, this is where I think that St. Joseph's run's going to come to an end. I think that Fordham is going to have enough to win that one. So then we got VCU and we got Fordham for the championship game. And I'm going to go with VCU in this one. Fordham, really good team, but I think the Rams are the best team in this conference, and they'll be able to win. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching this video today. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the content. Comment down below your predictions for the Atlantic 10 Conference Tournament. And anyway, peace out.